Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comics and Variety on Wednesday. I'm Doc Hogg here with the lovely Leonore King. And Leonore this evening is going to be coloring the final page of Tilt. As I've told my customers and prospective backers many times, I want to be able to get this comic book in your hands as quickly as possible. So we are very close. In fact, very soon I'm going to be up to about 28 pages finished, inked, colored, and lettered. And maybe by next week it will be completely done, ready to go to the printer as soon as as soon as the campaign is over. Speaking of which, hold on just a moment here. Indeed. Sorry, I got that song Friday in my head.
It's not Friday. Don't do it.
I did it to Jeremy yesterday. Well, but see, that was because the name of the comic book that he wanted to review was Friday, so I couldn't resist.
Oh man! At least you don't have the Geico camel soundboard queued up.
Oh, well, have you been on a show that has that?
No, it's just the next progression to what day is it? It's hump day.
I'll have to remember that one.
There you go. We're going to find one for you to do for every day of the week so you can annoy everybody, regardless of what day it is.
Alrighty. I just want to also let you know that Tilt is still going. We've got 2 weeks left. However, we are at 100% funded now. So that means that you will be receiving whatever goodies that you ordered. And I'll talk a little bit more about Tilt a little bit later in the show. But right now, why don't we get to Leonore and her coloring?
Right. I should switch that. Okay. Ta-da! All right. Let me get my tab. I was like barely prepared. My laptop was so lagged out. It was not happy about me deciding it wanted to stream today. But I made it do it anyway. It doesn't make the decisions. I do. All right. Yes. Let me zoom out so we can see the whole page. It's all basic. Just the flats at the moment. I got most all the skin tones and stuff right. It's just I'm not sure about the suits and the buildings and stuff like that.
What are flats exactly? I mean, tell us. The first step is flats, and
Let me show you. If I take away these lines, those are the flats. It's basically gapless color segments that separate everything. So even with the lines on, I can go in and select just the background or just his skin, and it doesn't section out with the lines. It does the whole chunk. So there's not going to be any gaps. If for some reason there's a printing issue, there's not going to be any white lines between the inking and the color. So everything's going to be filled in, and it makes it a lot easier to go in and adjust colors as need be. Like if, say, I turn something into you and you're like, like the couple of times you wanted the suit color changed, this is how I went in and changed it. So I could just select one element per se. Actually, I have his face selected too.
Okay, so what's the next step after that, then?
The next step after this is to adjust all of the base colors. Make sure that everything is the right color, that all the background colors are right. Like, say, I'm not super sure that I'm happy with all of their suits being the exact same color. So next would be me going in and like fine-tuning and tweaking which suits I wanted to be more in which color direction and all that. And then after I get all that locked in, then I do the fun stuff where I start adding in all of the shading and highlights and textures and all of that fun stuff, which is the more entertaining part. I tried to get to where that was more of where I was getting to on this. Because even if I did all of the... At this point, even if I do the highlights and shadows, because I do them on another layer, I can still go back and change the colors of their suits, and it'll preserve the highlights and the shadows and all that as well.
Now, what do you consider to be the hardest part of those steps?
I wouldn't consider any of it to be hard as in difficult. I think that's more of piece by piece. Like some pages are going to be easier for the whole thing because there's more large sections. But I think the most tedious is always going to be the initial like flatting and laying down all the base colors. Because once you've got all that done, you can just select them, and it kind of makes it easier to stay in the lines, as it were. It kind of just does it for you at that point, so you can just kind of go crazy and have fun with it. So the most, I guess, tedious or difficult would be the initial setup, getting the page ready for the fun stuff.
Gotcha. All right, a couple quick shout outs to the chat here. M-Force Master, thank you for showing up as always. Guy from Red Bank, heyo back. And let's see, who else we got here? Thank you very much for the congratulations. I really appreciate it. It is, around 9:15 last night. I'm looking at my email and going, oh, got another backer from Tilt. And I looked at the amount and I'm like, ah! Yeah, it's like, happy, joy. Okay, I won't dance. I danced yesterday, and my letterer took a look at the video from yesterday and said, Doc Hogg should never forever. So, at any rate, compliment on your coloring there, Leonore. And let's go back to solo layout so people can watch what you're doing.
All right, let me readjust how I'm sitting here. My tablet was not optimally placed.
Well, Mr. Guy from the Red Bank, you think correctly.
Yay. All right, where was I? Okay. I think Big Boss Bad suits should be slightly less bland. Even if it's just the undershirt, I think this guy deserves something.
Well, you've kind of colored him in pretty flashy colors. So
yeah, and I'm thinking even if he is trying to, I mean, his bodyguards might be trying to play it low, but he might still be cocky at this point. I'm not sure. I'm not in his head. But the situation, if I were him, I'd definitely be rethinking shiny purple suits in public. But that's just me.
Are these all flat colors is what he wants to know.
Yes.
Red punk gauge, yes.
Nothing fancy at this point.
Hail, Dead Punk. Thank you for stopping on by. Guy from Red Bank. It just depends whether or not you want to send another picture. I was actually, since you're not using your real name here, I'll just say I was actually was going to send you an email this evening, just making sure that you had back both of those tiers. That's what you wanted to do. But go ahead. Yeah. We'll work out something like, they're twins or something like that. And we'll give them whatever names you want. But if you want to send a different picture, you go right ahead. Otherwise, I can just use the one you sent me for the four of a kind, be a thug, and we'll just pretend that they're twins. Hello, Rookie Critic. Thank you for stopping on by, and thank you very much for the congratulations on Tilt. Now the easy work is done. The hard part of getting it all to you begins. And you are welcome, Guy from the Red Bank. And Dead Punk says that on the flats is where he's always makes his mistakes when coloring. He tends to do it over.
I don't try. That's one of the reasons why when I do the flats, I'm more worried about making sure everything's separated color-wise and try to get through it quickly because it is such a tedious step and it can be easy to screw it up. But if you do it right, then you can always go back, select an area, and change the color. Like I just changed his suit color 3 times because I'm still not sure. I'm still not sure. I don't know how flashy I think he wants to be right now. Oh, geez. And I'm not worried about this guy over here being flashy.
I mean, now that the Kenny H and his contingent have been eliminated, it might actually be a good. Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about taking it one step down from flashy at this point, and not super down at this point, but taking it down because we can go one step further maybe in the next issue. But that's not a good idea.
He's just going to be wearing all black and covering his face. All
You
right.
Killed My Brother. I'm not sure what movie that is from. I'm thinking, I mean, I know there was one in Chud or something like that, that awful movie from years ago. You Dirty Rat, You Killed My Brother. Gosh, what is that from? Don't know. I'm going to have to go look it up. Okay, what?
I don't hate that.
It's from a James Cagney movie, I think, called Taxi is where he got it.
Ooh, Taxi.
Yeah, I have never. You Dirty Rat, You Killed My Brother. I had heard of that movie. Did not know that that was a. Oh, but apparently it's a misquote. A misquote. According to this, interesting. Kind of like "Play It Again, Sam" is kind of a misquote from Casablanca.
Or like people keep thinking that
He never actually said Sam. He did say "Play It Again," I think.
when everybody thought Sally Fields said, "You like me, you really like me," that's not what she said. Mandela effects. Where you think something happened one way, but it didn't. I almost think the random thug guy should have.
Fire, thank you for coming on by. TMNT, too much. No, sorry. TMNT. I know what TMFT stands for.
TMNT stands for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Well, it stands for that. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe that's where it comes from. All right. And Dead Punk here says, I try to do it all at once because I convinced myself I'm saving time by doing so, even though I'm wrong.
I will fully admit that I am guilty of just going, like, wanting to just go in and just start smearing colors around like I am literally coloring a coloring book, but it always makes things take longer. Because then if you do look at it and go, oh, I need to change that, or oh, I need to tweak this, or oh, that color doesn't look right, it now takes the entire time it took you to do it the first time over again. Instead of being able to just select and change. And man, that...
I mean, that was disappointing. We wanted you to say, I am guilty, and then follow that with something salacious, you know.
YouTube doesn't like you being too soft these days.
I have to say Mexican beer virus. They haven't laid down my site from last night, even though I did Captain Love, and I played a joke where I blacked out the naughty bits, but then I had one screenshot where the black boxes were underneath just underneath the, and then I quickly shifted over to the proper one. But
you haven't taken it
down. I actually think you have to have it up for. I'm guessing you have to have it up for a little while before
it gets flagged.
Well, I think you have to have it up for a certain period of time. I think in your video, because I was in the middle of a live stream, not on here, but on. Oh boy, who was it? Arch City Comics, his Saturday show, where we got booted right in the middle of the show because he'd had something up there that wasn't even that. It didn't really. It had all the naughty stuff blacked out. It was just a really suggestive pose, and you could kind of see the naked body. And because he had it up there for a while,
I was watching a stream. I don't think it was the sleeping with a pog cures.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I was watching when that happened.
That was it.
So I kept looking at it. I'm like, I know that you can't actually see the business end of what's going on, but this is gonna get. And then there it went, and I was like, oh man, there we go. But I would venture to guess that because of the way these algorithms work, you could definitely just put up a live stream of like pictures of sand dunes, and it would probably eventually think it was porn. That's just based on what I've seen. Because there was that whole Google tried to do this thing where it's automatically detected images that involved nudity or pornography, and it ended up categorizing more pictures of sand dunes than actual porn.
Mm.
I guess something about the colors and the lines made it think they were porn.
And don't put up any images of the Empire State Building standing alone by itself, right?
Probably not. Oh my gosh. Okay, what was I doing? Mask. Oh, I'm not gonna. I laughed when I zoomed in and saw this mask. I was like, no, you put it on. When you come outside.
Well, that wasn't. Yeah, he's a germaphobe. That's why.
I know. So. But I'm like, bro, don't take the mask off when you go outside. That's where the germs live. It just made me laugh.
He's in a hospital. He's visiting a guy in a hospital. So. Okay. And what's going on here? If you go to the tilt page and you scroll down, there is a page where Jack Tessio is being told that he basically realizes he's been passed over for being a made man. And what's going on in this last page here is where you see that Jack is now, has some kind of scheme up his. Jack realizes back up here. One of the mobsters attacked in the previous scene from this survives for a brief while, and he says something in the hospital to Jack that it sounds a little bit like gibberish, but Jack, who has a fairly, his mind isn't slow, shall we say, realizes that it may be Jennifer Poehler or someone, related to her that's now coming after the mobsters. And he starts thinking, let's start putting it together here, and is realizing that, let's just say he's starting to scheme and thinks that, letting Jennifer go through with her whatever she's doing, her mission, might be a good way to make some room at the top for himself. And that's kind of where we're going to leave it going into issue 2.
Ooh, delightfully cliffhangy.
Well, also I'll add to this, one of the things with the head mobster, Johnny Ricca, he keeps talking about his birthday party. And that's kind of what's going on in the scene. He's saying, you guys are going to be at my birthday party. And Jack says, well, we have some business to attend to first, but so we'll be there a little late. And then at the end, his brother Marco saying, hey, Jack, what are you talking about? We have no business at all.
This face.
At all. And Marco, he's like, we don't have any business on that day. What's going on? And Marco's like, Marco says, we don't have any business. What's going on? And Jack replies, an opportunity. So
an opportunity, yes. Oh no, wait, I'm closing things. Okay. Yeah, no. When I looked at this face after reading the script and I knew what he was saying right here, I just laughed out loud because I'm like, damn, does that not look like you've got some shit up your sleeve? Like, if that doesn't scream, I'm about to make some bad choices. I don't know what does. It's amazing. I love it. Okay, back to making sure everybody's suits match the right way.
Finding out on Facebook here, Messenger, what time my son is having his bath this evening. So, give a quick call. It's always fun to watch him play in the bath. I called the other day, and the whole bath water was colored red, and I'm not sure exactly how he did that, but
no.
Well, he's also playing with some water and some cups, and that was all colored blue. So he clearly had something that it's like 1990s Norman Osborn. Yeah, he does kind of. Right. Oh, yeah. Duh. Took me a second there.
Stupid lag. Oh, right. Well, okay then. Double check the skin tones. I didn't use my guide when I put these down. I eyeballed them.
Well, why do you usually have a guide? It's just so that you can go back and.
Yeah, I try one because I use layers to adjust the lighting and how like the tone. I try to consistently keep the skin tones and the eye like skin, eye, and hair color. I try to make sure that they're pretty consistent page to page. And even like I have a palette set up in Clip Studio that actually has whatever outfit Jennifer's currently wearing on the pages I'm working on's colors saved. Just so I can make sure that the base color is consistent page to page, and then whatever lighting effects I add onto it will be why it doesn't look the same every page. But I assure you that any adjustments to the skin tone is just lighting at that point. That's how I make sure it's just lighting. Gotcha. That way people are like, why is he this color on this page and this color on this page? I can actually even pull up the file and be like, see, he started off this color, and then this blue light hit him. I convulsively have to make things make sense for myself. No. That's all I needed to adjust. Except I'm not sold on green. Maybe. I think the reason I went with green for the background color there is because at this point he's envious of the people who are making it before he is.
Is there a color associated with scheming?
That's why I was going. His scheming is rooted in envy. So I was going to go with like a greenish background just to kind of pull up the vibe, since it's more just focused on his face and his brother being like, I don't know. I don't know, man.
That's good. I hadn't actually considered that.
Yeah.
But no, hey, that's awesome.
I just love that. His face just screams, I don't know, man. And then he's just like, I got ideas. Oh, shit. Okay. Let's throw, actually, music. Okay. Overlay layer. Go with the background. This is daytime, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Just sitting here like, what colors should I use for the shadows? And if it's nighttime, I try to use like a heavy dark blues and purples if they're outside. But if it's daytime, then I can just kind of use warmer tones for the over.
Dead Punk here asked, do you ever feel like you overdo it on detail?
Yes. Thankfully, I don't really have... I didn't draw the artwork for this. I'm just coloring it. So I will go... My issue is if I see an empty space, I will be compelled to fill it with something. And I have to remind myself that a lot of the times with comic books, that empty space is there on purpose, so you can put a speech bubble there. Which is the difficult part when you're transitioning from doing like individual pinup one-off artwork to something sequential, because those sort of things come into play more often. And my poor little brain can't take it.
All righty, why don't we take a quick break and look at some news, shall we?
I'm just along for the ride, man.
All righty. All righty, this first one comes from First one comes from New York City. A New York City man finds body in taped up freezer, report says. A man found a decomposed body in a freezer while clearing out his dead mother's New York City apartment last week, according to a report. The body was found around 1 p.m. on Thursday in a chest freezer that had been sealed with duct tape, the Daily News reported, citing police. Building Superintendent Asmir Basim told the paper that investigators said the body appeared to have been stored for at least 10 years. The body was so decayed that authorities couldn't determine its sex.
Ew! Can you imagine the smell when that started to thaw?
Yeah, I really don't want to. The deceased tenant reportedly never gave permission for work to be done in the Hamilton Heights apartment. Quote, "She seemed like a lovely lady, always very pleasant," Basim said. "It's a shock." Best of all, authorities are investigating the body's identity and whether it could be the dead woman's mother, building staff said.
The fuck?
I always like this. She seemed like a lovely lady, always very pleasant. Yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer was always nice to his pet chickens. He never once wanted to eat them. That reminds me, I'll tell you a story from when I first moved up to Sacramento for college, but let me go to the other.
I mean, to that end, most people who met Ted Bundy said he was delightful. So,
yeah.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Police in India revealed device to detain coronavirus lockdown I can't speak. Let's try that again.
Words are hard.
Yeah. Police in India revealed device to detain coronavirus lockdown violators without contact. Authorities in India have debuted a unique device meant to detain those who are not cooperating with a coronavirus lockdown while maintaining social distancing. The device appears to resemble a claw-like grabber that many use to pick up trash. And there's a picture of it.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Damn, that's like the things they used to catch, like the noose on a stick they used to catch stray dogs when they're aggressive. Or like, and they're like adapting animal control tactics at this point. That's hilarious.
I suspect if we started using something like that here in the U.S., the ACLU would pitch a fit.
People pitch fits over all kinds of stuff these days. I just don't even know. And then they don't pitch fits about the shit that I'm very confused. People make no sense.
Don't hurt the crooks with your hook. Something like that. I could hear Jesse Jackson. That would be his chant. Don't hurt the crook with your hook. All righty. Okay. Go gadget extendo arm. We can't see the screen, the coloring.
Oh right, shit. There we go. I fixed it.
So when I first moved up to Sacramento to go to college, this was in 1988, and there was a woman downtown by the name of Dorothy Puentes, and she ended up on the run from the law for about a week. She was a very demure old lady, and all righty, I'll get to your email as soon as I can. At any rate, demure old lady, but basically what had happened is that neighbors had complained about the smell coming from her backyard. And it turned out, as police started to investigate, they found a couple of bodies buried in her backyard.
Ew.
and she had actually been running a sort of like a halfway house or a boarding home for people that were disabled. And it turned out that basically what she would do is she'd poison them, then bury them in the backyard, but keep getting their disability Social Security check, right?
Damn, that's kind of ingenious.
Yeah. Well, she finally got caught, but the thing was, the police didn't arrest her. They just brought her down to the precinct for questioning. All right, and they just sit her on a bench. Okay, and she knows that the gig's about up, but the thing was that no one at the police department thinks anything of an old lady sitting on a bench. They just think she must be down there to file a complaint. So she just stands up and walks out, and it's a week before she's captured.
Oh my God. I bet she did sit there and look around and be like, I'm a little old lady. I watched them not say shit. Watch me get up and walk out of here and them not say shit.
and then so she ended up getting caught in Los Angeles, and she got caught because she went to a bar and met this gentleman, and they were going to meet the next night. And then he went home, saw the news, and recognized her.
Shit.
And he told reporters that at their first meeting at the bar, she told him that she knew ways to get more money out, that he could get more money out of Social Security.
I got a trick to get more money out of Social Security. Let me show it to you. It's called kidnap and murder. Yeah. Okay. That sounds like a great plan, lady. What the fuck? Can you imagine, like, even if he hadn't seen the news, at some point it sounds like she would have gotten to that point. Like, let me show you how to kill a man. Like, what the fuck?
Well, it makes you wonder. I mean, it makes you. The thing is, I don't know that anyone's ever researched her background, but it does make me wonder. I mean, she was already an old lady at that point. What was she? You don't just suddenly become a sociopath or even I don't know.
Whatever is going on with her did not just happen.
Yeah, it did not just happen overnight. So, to my knowledge, no one ever tried to dig into her background and see if there were. Did they make a lifetime? It wouldn't surprise me if they made.
I don't know. What I do know is it could have been something that kind of came on her in her older age. Because I know that Betty Page started off kind of okay, and it wasn't until the kid died in the woods and they tried to sue her and the photographer and accuse them of being why he died, because they had released a photo shoot of her hanging from a tree kind of provocatively, and then some gay kid goes out in the woods and dies doing it himself. So they were trying to be like, oh, it's your fault, which way back then, yeah, I get why they were freaking out. Shit like that didn't happen. And I guess the guilt from that, Betty Page murdered a woman and attempted to kill 3 people before Hugh Hefner invited her back to the Playboy Mansion to hang out. These are things that happened. And I didn't know that until recently. All I knew is Betty Page was really hot, and there's a lot of naked pictures of her on the internet. Apparently also crazy at a point. Like, started off okay, and then deep, dramatic downward spiral. So I don't know, man. Crazy can kind of sneak up on you.
You're sure she murdered some people?
She at least tried to. There's at least one account of there was a woman who was taking care of her, or a relative. She woke up to Betty standing over her bed saying that God was telling her to kill her. There's one person she at least for sure stabbed repeatedly while they were asleep, but I don't know if they died or not. It was obviously determined she was not of sound mind, so she was never convicted of like.
Hear that she suffered from paranoid schizophrenia.
Yes, and it all started after she got aggressively accused in court of being the reason a kid died. Like, they damn near pointed at her and called her a murderer for making porn. And I guess back then that'll screw you up.
I didn't know. It says here that Jane Mansfield was also in Playboy. Huh, I did not know that. That's interesting.
Playboy was classy shit back in the day, man.
Oh, yeah.
Classy people post for Playboy. It's good times.
Now let's take a look at what they have to say about Dorothy Quendays. Yeah, our total count reached 9 confirmed murders and 6 unconfirmed. Newspapers dubbed her the Death House landlady.
Have you heard of the chick, that chick back in the day that was confirmed to be responsible for the deaths of like 700 men? Way back in the day when like divorce wasn't an option for women, this chick, and she apparently learned the recipe from her mother, a way to make what looked like a cosmetic product but was actually an incredibly deadly poison that she was selling to wives that were unhappy and instructing them to put a little bit of it in their husband's food so they would appear to grow ill over time. The shit was called Aqua to Fauna. Look it up. That shit is insane. The whole story is insane because the chick never actually got caught, per se. Like, they figured out what was going on, but by the time they figured it out, she was gone, I think. It's been a while. I watch Bailey Sarian on YouTube a lot. She's a makeup artist, but she does Mondays is like watch a pretty lady put makeup on while also talking about murder, which is right up my wheelhouse. So so that's what I do on Mondays. I listen to a pretty lady talk about people dying while she puts makeup on. It's my thing. But that's where I heard about Betty Page and all kinds of weird shit. She's obviously talked about some of the big ones like Ed Gein, and nothing's more refreshing on a Monday morning than looking at pictures of Ed Gein's nipple belt. A belt made of human nipples. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be funny, but it is.
What's that stuff called again? I'll look it up. The makeup product?
Aqua to Fauna. Let me see if I can type it in somewhere for you.
But oh, I found it.
Okay, yeah. It's not a secret anymore.
Aqua to Fauna was a strong
Yeah,
poison that was reputedly widely used in Naples. Okay. During the early 17th century, Julia Tofana, or Tofania, was an infamous lady from Palermo, made a good business for over 50 years selling her large production of Aqua Tofana to would-be widows.
Yes, that's what cracks me the fuck up. Because she wasn't actually killing anybody. But that's like... And the weirdest part is people will still talk about it, and they're like, okay, now, to be fair, yes, she was telling these women how to use it to not make it obvious that it was murder, but like that's almost the equivalent of arresting whoever sold the butter knife to the guy that stabbed you in the alleyway with it. Like, it's your fault.
Over 600 victims are alleged to have died from this poison, mostly husbands of unhappy spouses.
And yeah, there was some stories where like people will talk about there were things that weren't necessarily husbands. Like occasionally there would be the bitter sister who wanted the inheritance, but by and large it was mostly just women who were unhappy or being treated poorly, and because divorcing them and leaving them was not an option back then, they'd just somehow seek out this woman through word of mouth. And like, can you imagine just sitting around in the parlor and be like, man, my husband's being an ass, and like have the chick next to you be like, I know a bitch. She can hook you up with some poison. Like, how does that come up in conversation? I just want to be there to see how that comes up in conversation. How does one decide to buy poison from a strange woman? And the bottles, if you look at the pictures, they were all designed to look like cosmetics. So if, you know, the husbands didn't suspect anything, they saw this bottle sitting on their wife's vanity, they're like, that must be some of that shit that makes her smell not like death.
Let's see here.
No.
Yes, stuff made of arsenic. Let's see here. Okay.
Sorry, you brought up women killing people.
No.
I'm suddenly like, I know a lot about crazy people killing stuff.
You don't have to apologize. Is this what the bottle looks like?
Hold on, I'm clicking the wrong buttons here. Okay. Yes! Yeah, but like think about that. If you just saw that sitting next to a bunch of perfumes and stuff way back in the day, I wouldn't even think twice. Because the women would keep it with their makeup. They wouldn't put it by the food. They put it with their makeup. And then they'd like sequester some in their hand or something while they did their makeup in the morning, and they'd go make breakfast and they're like, oh, here's a little arsenic in your coffee or whatever the fuck is in there.
Here's Dorothy Puente. Just like a cute little old lady.
Damn. I mean, like, in general, she looks cute. That's gotta be like a courtroom photo, though, because she does look a little sketchy. I don't know. I've been slapped by an old lady before. I don't trust them. Like, unprovoked. She was crazy.
I off y'all nuts. Guy Perez says, well, which why I will never get married. Take a chance. What are the odds?
I mean, divorce is totally socially acceptable now. So, I mean, you're more likely to get papers than poison these days. But just make sure she has more money than you. And then she won't have a reason to kill you. My professional advice is to just marry someone with more money than you. Because then you never have to worry about them killing you. Because what would be the point? What will they get out of it? Unless they're just bored. Don't marry crazy people. We just don't marry violent people. There's no way to tell. Like you said, it's always the people that they were so nice. I would have never imagined them to have 42 dead bodies buried in their backyard. I just would never have known. I just thought they liked to garden. Oh man, there was another one that Bailey chick talked about that some dude was killing people and serving them to people at a roadside hamburger stand. Oh, that would make me nauseous. And yet I can't stop reading about shit like that. Like, oh, this makes me horribly nauseous and uncomfortable. I'll just read some more. This will be fine. I am damaged, but it's fine. Of a bitch.
I've seen that movie Blood Diner. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up now. Blood Diner. The plot follows two brothers setting up a restaurant as a front for them to kill women and collect their severed body parts to summon forth the Lemurian goddess Sheetar.
I think I've seen that before, actually.
Yeesh.
I watch a lot of weird horror movies on purpose. There's one, oh man, what is it? I think it's called Frontier or Frontier. It's a French horror film, I think. And it is dark. I only watched it once. I don't even know if I still have the DVD somewhere. I don't even know if I owned it. But I remember watching it and being really disturbed by the fact that, like, it's the typical trope where it's like a young couple driving through the wilderness and shit happens and then they're stranded and there's a creepy farmhouse. The twist in this one is there is a fucking actual Nazi, like, has the uniform and shit, like, sir, in this farmhouse and they just happen to be Jewish. And then they get stuck in the pig pit. Like, it gets gross at some point, and then there's running, somebody's trying to crawl through a tunnel. There's mutant, the Nazi has mutants. It's weird. I may be blending more than one movie together, but it was one of the most intense, psychologically disturbing, and yet completely bewildering things I've ever seen. Because I was like, how? How did you get here? What? How did your life come to this? What? Oh my God. But I will say, one of the reasons I liked that movie is because every time you yell at the screen, don't go that way, go the other way, the chick actually stops and goes, wait, I'll go this way. She makes smart choices. And that's so refreshing to watch a horror movie in which the person is making smart choices, and yet shit still keeps getting worse. Those are the good.
Says The Blood Diner is an unofficial sequel to 1965 Blood Feast. I have seen that movie.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
If you want something that is just so horrifyingly bad, I mean, we're talking Plan 9 from Outer Space, bad. Blood Feast, but you want a little gore with it. Blood Feast is that movie. There is a scene in there where a woman where a woman is talking on the phone, and you can actually, she's holding papers in front of her, and you can actually tell that she's reading off the script. She hadn't learned her lines, and she was just reading directly off the script.
Oh man, that's brutal. Hold on, what was she? What is her name? I'm gonna look something up real quick.
All right, so let's give her a solo layout and see how this is coming along. Oh, nice.
Dark Angel: The Ascent by Full Moon Productions is still to this day one of my favorite movies of all time, and it's pretty terrible.
Dark Angel of Ascent.
The Ascent. It's basically a hot redheaded demon girl that breaks out of hell and gets curious and horny up top. And yet, it's not porn. It is not porn.
It's a Romanian-American romantic supernatural horror film. Well, I like it already. Only now 21 minutes. Awesome.
From 1994? I didn't know it was yeah, Romanian-American. Got it. Okay, yes. I didn't know about the Romanian part, but that makes sense. Yeah, Angela Featherstone. Whew. Goodness. Couldn't remember her name until I looked it up, but she was in a lot of movies in which she was very fun to look at. God, my standards. Movies are good if boobs. That's my that's my criteria, and that's terrible. It's not my only criteria, but it seems to be a theme.
Hey, it's a good criteria.
Oh man! So if somebody asks me if the movie was good, genuinely, probably not plot. If my response is it had boobs and explosions, I probably didn't pay attention to the plot, which means the movie in general probably wasn't good.
I've seen that with, yeah. Sounds about right for you, Leonore, according to M. First Master. I still own the VHS to Dark Angel.
Yes! It's a good movie. There's some serious character growth. There's some arcs and I think what gets me is the practical effects that were done in some of the least practical ways I could have possibly imagined they be done, but it just looks so good and yet so bad. I think Full Moon Productions did one of the Pit and the Pendulum movie that I like the most, of which there may have only been one. Why is... I don't know, my color margin got all goofed.
Yeah, Jessica Alba was certainly something to look at in the day.
Dark Angel, the series. Yeah, that was good. It's good. Another show that was out around the same time as that was True Calling with Eliza Dushku. That was a good one.
Oh, yeah.
She worked in a morgue, could talk to dead people, and yet somehow they found a way to make her have to run right at the camera for extended periods of time every episode. It was amazing. Yanked my earbuds out of my ears kind of aggressively. Holy shit.
There have been quite a few movies that have been named, titled Dark Angel.
Yeah, that's why I have to specify when I say Dark Angel the Ascent, and I have to say redheaded demon chick. Otherwise, they end up looking at the wrong movie. Okay, let's get this car once over. Oof.
All righty, let me give just a very quick pitch for give another pitch here for Tilt. All right, Tilt is now 100% funded. It will last for another 2 weeks, and basically it is superheroes meet the Sopranos. The main character, Jennifer Poehler, has the power to make the kings, queens, and jacks in a deck of cards come alive, and she has to use that power to eliminate the mobsters who murdered her dad. A couple of very good perks here. You can get a standard cover, variant cover. You can also add on a pinup designed by the lovely Leonore. And there will also be a special Tilt deck of cards that, we'll have this image on the back. So do hurry and back it when you can.
Do the thing.
Speaking of which, I need some graphic design work done. You know anyone? Well, you do some graphic design.
I'm just looking around my room like, yes, I do know someone. Me.
Well, actually, then I think I will probably talk to you about it, since you're almost done coloring and you would have time now. So not that I'm trying to manage your time or anything, which would be
no, but I really don't have. The only other projects I'm even considering working on right now are personal stuff, and I don't care if I don't have a schedule on that right now. So yeah, absolutely. 30 seconds and a weird selfie. That, by the way, that graphic for this stream, I don't have a green screen, so anytime you see me using selfies or actual photos of me without a background, I removed the background by hand.
Well, I'd say this: that thumbnail was better than anything I have yet been able to produce. So
I whipped that up actually on Pixlr.com. I didn't even use my actual art software to do that one.
Pixlr.com. I'll have to remember.
Yeah, I think it's still free. They keep acting like they're changing it. If I find out I've been paying for it, I'm gonna be sad, but pretty sure it's free.
PIXLR.
Yes. They've got a lot of like online, no download required, just image and photo editing stuff. So if you're just looking to do something in a pinch and you don't want to have to wait for something to load or programs and shit, I use it all the time for quick stuff. Because if I try to use anything else, it won't be quick anymore. It turns into some long thing. That actually, I've used Pixlr before. They have a pretty good cutout tool for removing the background if you wanted to do stuff like that and you didn't need it to be like high res, super fabulous quality. Obviously, I would not use that program to color any large resolution files because I don't even think it can handle large resolution images, to be honest. But for quick, simple stuff, I recommend it to a lot of people because it's especially if they don't do art related stuff. They have zero reason to have an art or an image editing program other than to make thumbnails for like their YouTube channel. I'm like, do this, because there's no reason to download a whole ass Photoshop just to do thumbnails. That's insane.
Now, do you actually that the up there, is that an actual pen that you're holding, or are you using your mouse?
Oh, it's an actual pen. I have a Wacom Intuos, so I do the. I did used to use a mouse. I didn't have a tablet. Some of the flashback or throwback artwork that I posted to Twitter, it was actually done with my mouse, and that I couldn't do it now. I've gotten so used to using this pen that if I try to do something with my mouse artistically, I get mad very quickly because I know I have the option to not. When I didn't have the option, I made it work. I would use line tools a lot, so I wasn't actually drawing things. I would be like clicking the points to draw like little lines to try to make things look smooth, and it was so bad, so tedious. And I see people online still today that are like, I drew this with a mouse on MS Paint, and it looks like the goddamn Mona Lisa, and I'm just like, I fucking give up. What the hell? And then I go to their profile, they're fucking 14, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I doing with my life?
All righty, and we'll be at the hour mark here in about 5 minutes, and I think that is where we will end it. So why don't you just tell us a little bit more about what you're doing right here? It looks like you're adding some sunlight or something
Yes.
to the SUV.
I am adding the light reflections to this SUV, trying to make it look shiny without being too overbearing to the viewer. I'm not even sure I know where the light source is coming from yet, so that's why I keep turning my head like, does that make sense? I think it'll work. Just kind of nondescript daylight lighting at this point. I'm not even trying to be super specific, especially since I have to remind myself I'll zoom into these pages really close and I'll be meticulously detailing something, and then I will hit the button and be like, oh yeah, nobody's ever going to be able to look at it that close. Like, I think this is probably the closest to actual size for the image, and you don't see the little detailed highlights I put in the bush very well. They're just there for me at this point. I guess the digital copies, people could look and like zoom in and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But for print, some of these little details, I just don't know if they're going to show up. If they do, that'd be awesome. I mean, I don't know. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to see this in person in my hands, so I can be like, I did that. Mm-hmm. And know what, learn what things do when they get printed, because I know that they don't look exactly the way they do digitally, but I don't know all of the nuances of all that. Plus, it'll just be excited to smell ink coming off of a thing that I did something on.
Okay, why don't you just let us know what's the last thing that you're doing here, and we will wrap it up.
Well, I was getting ready to start thinking about shading the people. I usually do one last run before I do the final textures on highlights and stuff, but let's see if I can get it to just focus on this one frame. Maybe not. Yeah, I pretty much focused on just this first frame. I adjusted the suit colors and stuff elsewhere, but as far as the details, it was just the first panel here. Got the background shaded in, added some texture and stuff. For this book particular, I've been doing the background with more textured brushes, and then the people I do very smooth brushes with. So there's not going to be a lot of rough textures on the people. I don't know why in my head I feel like that makes them pop out from the background a little bit better or more, or at least separates them from it. And so far you haven't complained. So I've just been going with it. It gives the background kind of a painterly feel, but it keeps the characters looking very crisp and comic booky, and I feel like that has worked so far. But if you decide you want me to change it or amp it up or do something for the next book, we can always see how that goes.
How often have I actually told you to change something? Not often.
Not often. It's usually
I really like the vision you brought to it.
Yeah. It's normal. Like, I'm trying to think. The only times you've ever had me change something, it's like, hey, this should be this color. And it's like a small thing. It's never like a lot of something. And we usually will go back and forth and decide which looks better. So yeah, definitely. But I mean, obviously, if you make the executive decision, I will listen to you. I'm good like that. I'm cooperative. I'm a team player.
Always helps. Always helps. I will say this: never have an intern who is also a graduate student. They always want to outthink you.
Oh no! I mean, I'm pretty good at presenting.
When I was involved in doing research at Think Tanks, you get an undergraduate intern. You'd tell him to go say, okay, I want you to do A, B, and C. And they would go and they'd do A and B, and they'd screw up C a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal. You explain what they did wrong, they go back, you fix it. Graduate students, on the other hand, they like, I think what he really wants is some of C and then D, E, and F. And it comes back, it's like, no, it's really not what I wanted.
No, the trick
they're always trying to impress you with how smart they are. It's like, I'm just impressed if you do the damn work. So
exactly. And the trick to actually impressing somebody, and for anybody out there that's young and hungry and trying to impress their bosses, don't make them feel stupid at any point in time. And yes, that includes telling them that you have a better idea than they had. The way around that is to present it to them as, you're not sure if this is a good idea. You thought they might be interested. It might be a way to improve the situation or the efficiency. And then that gives them the opportunity to feel like, yes, I'm making the decision to do it that way. That's a great idea. And then everybody's happy.
That's damn fun advice, and something, boy, that I sure wished I'd listened to when I was in my early 20s. So with that, all righty, I think we are going to say goodnight, everyone. Thank you very much for stopping by. Thank you, Leonore, for giving us some of your valuable time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on getting funded. You did the thing.
Yes, it feels good. Now I'm gonna have to start thinking about a stretch goal. So.
Oh yeah, and obviously getting all them perks and books into people's hands. That's the big final step.
Indeed.
That's the real finish line. That's when we get to really claim the victories, when people are posting up pictures of them holding it, loving it.
Cool. All righty. Well, thank you, and we'll see everyone soon.
Have a great night, everybody.